Did you ever target European or Asian markets from USA?
Uh, from California, Asia for sure. Asia, California, we are on the Pacific Rim. And yeah, so California really developed the Japanese market in the late 70s
Okay.
and throughout the 1980s when we had kind of our record crops.
Yeah.
Started going down to Mexico to source for Japan uh, after a freeze in the early 90s. So we had,
Okay.
throughout the 1980s, had developed a Japanese market from scratch. It was a completely foreign, exotic product.
Yeah.
Before California started there, we're kind of getting a little bit of traction. And then there was a freeze in California in 1990, a pretty severe freeze.
Okay.
And that's what forced some of the packers to really start exploring Latin America more intensely. In Chile for the U.S. market, and then in Mexico to keep supplying the Japanese market. Over time, we developed other markets. Hong Kong is a very important market. Korea, Korea kind of flew under the radar for a number of years until they co-hosted the World Cup, and ever since that World Cup, about 12 years ago, South Korea has become a very important Asian market. There's a little bit of shipments from California to Singapore, a little bit of air shipments to some of the countries, Dubai and the UAE in the Middle East. Those are all done via air shipments, very, very low volume. For the United States to hit, or for California growers particularly to hit Europe, it's a much harder sell because the European market is supplied by so many countries. It's a much more competitive market for most of the year. They're getting fruit. They've got a little bit of fruit locally in Iberia, both Spain and Portugal. Israel's not very far away. Those are kind of the old school sources for Europe. And then, of course, South Africa was a major player in developing the winter market there. And then in more recent years, you've just seen an explosion throughout North Africa, Kenya, and then Latin America shipping a lot of fruit to Europe. So Europe's very competitive. There are windows when it is a more competitive market than the United States, but for a California shipper to ship fruit to Europe, it's got to be significantly higher because remember, we have to truck the fruit all the way from California to an East Coast port, which used to cost $7,000. Now maybe that costs $9,000 to get a container just to do the land portion, and then you have to do the ocean portion. So you're really adding a lot of time and money. So California, has done some ocean shipments to Europe, never very consistently. We do some air shipments to Europe if the market is really, really hot, but that is increasingly rare. That's because Europe is generally very well supplied from other parts of the world.